All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to Court of the Rings on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am Lotro's community manager, Cordovan. And hey, I've got a guest with me today. This is the final show of 2021. When next we meet, a whole year will have passed. And we will, well, no, it'll be 2022. We'll be back in January. Anyway, I'm off the next 2 weeks. I guess that's maybe, whatever. Hi, Reninia, producer for Lotro. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited. Last show of the year, like you said, it's always a big deal, and it's wild to think 2021 is ending. It seems like so much has happened, and at the same time, it's already wrapping up.
Cool, cool. Anyway, the reason I've got you here is it's a holiday special. I understand you've brought some musical instruments and you're going to sing for the next hour. Right? No, you did a
Uh,
producer's
you don't
letter
want to hear
this week.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
that's definitely producers' letters are definitely more my speed than a whole song and
all
dance.
right, I'm calling that up on the page right now, and we're going to do some Q&A today about that. We'll also have the latest news. Sorry, it's going to take me a second to get the window looking right. Sorry about that.
Okay, we're doing it live.
Yep, we are. Here we go. So we have a producer's letter here, and we will have the latest news and all that as well, and we have plenty of time for your questions today. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's nice to be here. All right, so I guess we should just mention first off, you're not like taking over for Sev or anything. This is just you're doing the
No.
letters here. So
I'm doing the letters, yeah. So we're changing the format of the letters. The annual producer's letter that folks are familiar with, that's not something we're planning on doing this year. We're going to try this new format out where I'll be writing out quarterly letters to give sense of what's happening in the next quarter. So this is focused on January through March of 2022, trying to give folks a sense of what are the things that we're focused on, what are the things that we're working on, and what are the things that we are expecting to give to you. One thing that I've seen some confusion around is this is not intended to be an exhaustive letter.
mm-hmm.
There's lots of other things that we're working on. There's lots of other things that we're talking about. Some of which may end up happening during these first 3 months that are not mentioned in the letter, and that's not because we're necessarily trying to keep them secret. It's because they're still in discussion, or there's smaller things that don't necessarily merit inclusion in something like this. This is already a fairly long letter, and I didn't want to get too in the weeds on everything. But this is
Yeah.
not the full scope of everything we're doing, but it is the high level view, let's
But
say.
here's the good news. It's December, everybody, and we've got a producer's letter that's actually telling you what's coming here in the first part of 2022. And not that we haven't done that in the past, but I think, having a producer's letter out by the end of the year is not always something that we've done. We've often waited until the early part of the year to release these producer's letters. And one of the advantages of moving to the scope and sort of way we're doing it here is it's going to let us do things maybe a little more easily in a few cases like this. So hey, we got it out in December, which means that by the time you're eating mashed potatoes here in a few weeks or whatever it is you're having to celebrate the holidays, if you're celebrating the holidays, you'll already know what we're going to be doing here for the next couple of months, and that's pretty cool. So, what are we doing the next couple of months?
Yeah, so the big thing that I talk about in this letter is update 32, which we're aiming for mid-February right now. There are several things coming with this update. The first one, the one that I know a lot of people are excited and expecting, is the Hidden Horde of Nankara. I probably mispronounced that. No, I think I actually got that one right that time. I did develop a mnemonic that the team helped me with to remember how to pronounce it. But that will see the conclusion of the storyline of Gundabad. That will include an encounter with Frimmel. That's going to be our first 12-player raid of this expansion and level range. So we're really excited. We threw in a nice, cool screenshot of what some of the things in game look like, so you can get a little tease. Think about what else is going to be happening in that raid. It's not just Frimmel. There's some more stuff going on there, but that'll be really, really exciting. The second big thing is Airborne Housing, which we've already given you folks a chance to preview on the Bull Roar server. And I know, going back, gosh, weeks, maybe a month ago at this point, Scenario did a casual stroll through to walk players through ahead of that. So there's still work going on with that. We are still making changes. We will be having more bull roars with that. But that's another big chunk of stuff that we're introducing with 32. The third thing, long awaited, long requested, the legendary item reward track. I know we've been talking about this for a while now, going back to before we introduced the LR2 revamp earlier this year. That is continuing well. We are hopeful that we will have a bull roar for that mid-January, that we will let you folks get an opportunity to play around with it. That's the plan. Things look like they're going to go in that direction, but we've had some struggles with getting this feature to a place where we're happy with it. But things are looking better. We're feeling more confident about it. Yeah. This is asking for new UI stuff. It's using some of the allegiance tech that folks have seen with the new allegiances that we introduced, the new allegiance panel, and the format that we introduced with Gundabad. But extending that wasn't as easy as we'd hoped it was going to be. So things are moving there, and now we're feeling okay that mid-January feels like a reasonable timeline for your first in-person look at it. And then no, gosh, I wish more things just worked. And then the fourth thing, yeah. So I mean, we're targeting mid-February for this, hopefully on the earlier side of mid-February. But yeah, our expectation is that when that reward track comes out, and I have no reason to believe otherwise at this point, that you will be able to right-click on all of those runes that you've got saved up, and they will go into the reward track, and everything. Oh, we're getting some reports that there's
I was muted
issues.
quick. I was muted during that last question, so they didn't even hear you're answering a question that I never told them.
Okay.
But answer it anyway because it makes sense.
Sure. The question was about the legendary item XP runes that folks have been earning in the quests in Gundabad and various other places, whether or not those are going to be included as part of this reward track. And the answer is yes, you will be able to use those runes. We fully anticipate that a large number of players will breeze through a large chunk of the reward track, maybe even all of it, when that goes live. That's okay. We're totally comfortable that we know that that's not going to be the case all the time. We know that as we give you a reason to use these runes, you won't have them anymore, and so you'll want to get more to get all the rewards in the reward track.
Especially when we debut it here, right? People will have saved up quite a bit. So, like you're saying, it's especially this first seasonal reward track. This is going to be quarterly, right? So maybe this first one you're going to get that leap to the end much more quickly than you will in future reward tracks. But that's okay this first time around. We're okay with it.
Yeah, that's what we're expecting. We know players have a lot of runes saved up. We know that we've been making them very available for you, and we know that there's also plenty of other sources to get legendary item XP that don't include the runes. So we're not super worried about the initial one. The initial one, the full experience is freely available to all players. There is no buy-in. There's no restriction. Just by playing the game, you can unlock all the rewards, and there's no additional requirements there.
Okay, before we move on to other parts of the letter and
Sure.
I take a look at chat, I wanted to back up just briefly to Airborne Housing to let you know in the community here that Deco du Milieu put together a really cool Airborne Housing preview this week. And they were able to get some cool screenshots from Bullroar and such and get a chance to actually talk to Scenario a little bit about how it's going to work. and what have you. So go check that one out here if you want to. If you're interested in that part of the producer's letter, this is definitely where you should be looking next, because it'll tell you a whole lot more about how Airborne Housing is going to work, what it's going to look like, how it came about, and a whole bunch of good stuff as well. So I really do want to thank Deco Doom Liu for putting that one together, and make sure that you know that it exists. You can get a link to it over on all of our social media. We've retweeted it and what have you. And it'll be, of course, in the Lotro Beacon that'll be published later today. All right, so why don't we take a quick look at chat before we start heading into the angle
Yeah.
of Methithal, which
So
I
I'm seeing a
pronounced,
couple
I
questions
believe,
from
largely
folks.
correctly in the first time I said
I
it
think you
out loud.
did.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a couple questions around the reward track. I'm just going to answer one non-reward track question that I've seen already. A question about the character transfers from closed servers. So we've been making progress on that, but we're not done with it yet. We are hopeful that we'll have more updates for you in January around how things are going. But right now, nothing that I can speak to, unfortunately. I know that we're getting closer, but we're not there yet. So questions on the reward track. So there's a question from Creefast22. Will the rewards track be retroactive for lower characters that are leveling up now? We level very fast, that the rewards for allies are great quest rings if we quest through to get them. So the short answer is you're not going to get progress counted for XP that was earned before the rewards track comes out. That's why we gave the runes in Gundabad, because we knew that most players were going to be there. But we know that lower level characters will have plenty of additional opportunities to earn more rewards as they continue to level. One thing that I don't think we specifically mentioned before is that the reward track, while available for characters of all levels, character needs to actually be able to use legendary items in order to contribute to it. So if you roll a brand new character, they won't be able to contribute it. They actually need to be able to get to the point where they can use legendary
And
items.
the reason for that is because it's fueled by the legendary item XP that you're earning.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And also the rewards are almost all tied to the legendary items. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to give those to players that can't use them, basically.
Okay.
Another question here from ZS Gamer, which is, what is a season? Seasonality is a common concept in a lot of other games. The basic idea is that seasons in the real world are roughly 3 months, and seasons in Lotro are going to be about 3 months. So each reward track will the reward track will basically change at the end of each season. So 3 months roughly after we introduce the first one, it will change. That means the rewards will change. Not completely. So like you're going to earn some ancient script from the first iteration of the reward track. You're probably going to earn it from the second iteration of the reward track, and the third, and so on. But some of the rare rewards, those might go away. They're not going to go away forever. These are not limited opportunities to earn these rewards, but it might be a while before you see them again.
All right. A couple of odds and ends questions. We could get to that just real quick, just that way they're not hitting up chat while we're trying to deal with a few other things. Can you talk a little bit about the status of game performance and what we're going to be working on here in the short term?
Sure, yeah. So we've done a lot of work in the short term since Gundabad released. Hopefully folks have noticed that the server performance has been markedly better than when it was when Gundabad first came out. We are continuing to do additional work there. Where we're learning from some of our sister studios about some of the better practices that they have, and continuing to implement those. There's a lot of work on all ends. We're improving on the content side, we're improving on the world side, we're improving on the engineering side. There's still a pretty big focus on performance.
I expect the next update to potentially have a few things related to game performance that'll be included in it.
Yeah.
So
that's our expectation, that we'll see more of that stuff as we go along. But it's going to continue to be a work in progress. It's not one of those things where we will ever be done, but it is one of those things that we're not going to be focused on potentially as heavily as we have been for the past few months.
All right. Do we want to talk about legendary item questions now or later?
I can answer a couple, and then we'll talk about the angle.
All right. So what about bridals? What's up with bridals?
Yeah, so our hope is to work on bridals early next year. We expect that will come potentially with 32 or 33. We don't have a clear answer yet as to what the specific solution is going to be. We're still discussing that internally, but we still have not forgotten about bridles, and we still intend to deal with them.
Okay. What are related to reward stuff, which also relates to legendary items? Like, what are some of the rewards in the reward track? Like, do we kind of have a sense of what we're going to be giving out here at this point?
Yeah, so a lot of them, like I said, are going to be heavily focused on rewards related to the current legendary items. So Ancient Script is going to be a common reward, Runes of Enhancement, Traceries of various kinds. Those are going to be, you're going to see them basically throughout. As an addition to the Shattered Tracery tokens to let you be able to pick out what you want to the Archive of Traceries. That's going to be by far and away the largest chunk of rewards in the reward track. There should be about, I think, 100 rewards. Um, there's also going to be a couple of cosmetic options. I think some pets, for example. But I don't know that those have been nailed down specifically yet,
Yeah.
or if they have been nailed down, I'm not necessarily aware of the specifics.
And, one thing about having a long-term reward track like that is we can adjust it over time clearly as well. So what we are giving out this season may be different from next season, so on and so forth, what
Yeah,
have you.
I totally expect that it will be. I think it's one of those things that we're gonna see, how did people feel about this version of it, right? It's the first time we've done something like this, and we expect to get a lot of that feedback during Bull Roar. We expect to get more of that feedback as the season itself goes along, and we'll take that into account as we do our next reward track and any more in the future.
All right, last LI question. What about our old stuff? So, basically, the question is, can we expect anything with our old legendary items? And related to that, essentially, what should we be thinking about our old LI stuff here at this point, heading into 2022?
Yeah, so we're consistently moving away from those old LIs being as valuable as they were. Obviously, we've intentionally reduced their value and continuing to make the new LIs the default. So you're going to continue to be able to hold on to those. There are still some old ingredients that I believe we're still working on converting. I know we just released additional conversions with 31.1. Um, the goal basically is to get up to a point where we are reasonably happy with that, and then any other old LI quest items we are removing from reward tables that are no longer relevant. I know that with 32, we're going to see a number of changes come in for items that have still been dropped or rewarded in quests or something like that. We're going to be pulling those out of the reward tables. But if you continue to see those past 32, please definitely put in bugs for those. Lotra's a big game. I wouldn't be shocked if there's some place where something is given out that we should remove and haven't had a chance to yet.
All right, I want to move to the angle of Methithal. So this is an area south of the Trollshaws to the junction of the Brunnen and the Methithal rivers is a wild land of rocky hills and deep pine woods, and a graveyard of ancient kingdoms. The ruins of elves and men alike crumble among the trees, and the rangers steal through the shadows of the trees, ever watchful, carrying out secret assignments as the north grows more dangerous by the day. This is going to be an area not entirely unlike the Wildwood content pack, as I understand it, that we had a while back, and that it's a lower level content pack. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's up with it?
Yeah, so we liked what happened with Wildwood. We know players are really excited about it. We were really excited about it internally to go back and add some stuff to Bree. We haven't had a chance to add things to Bree in quite a long time. And this is a similar sort of place where, next to Eregion, south of the Trollshaws, there's been this space that's been available for a long time, and we haven't added anything to it. And we thought it was a great place to go to, get to see more about the Rangers, get to see more about the history of the elves. Really cool stories that we're excited to tell. Some stuff about, what did the past look like, and some stuff about the modern day. I don't think we're doing anything it's not like as an Bazaar where we did a huge big thing in the past. This is going to be more of like a traditional region there. Our focus is trying to add it in so that after you finish Trollshaws, this is a sort of a natural place to go to. give you some more alternative options. We know that there's other areas that folks want to see alternative options for, and those are certainly in the cards for the future. I can't say anything specifically now, but we are aware that we want to keep doing more, and we'll see how things go there. One question I've seen is whether there will be missions similar to Wildwood. There won't be any missions for the Angle, but that doesn't mean that future zones will not have missions. Future zones might have missions depending on how things go with the Angle and whether it's the right opportunity for that zone.
All right. So I showed a couple wilderness areas and now a couple of interior areas. What are we looking at here? Do you know?
Yeah, so these are for airborne housing. These are
Okay.
parts of the Smog's Horde that the dwarves have adjusted for themselves and will now open up to you so that you can buy your home.
All right. Awesome.
Or another home, as it were, depending on. I know some players are big fans of having homes all over the place.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Update 32 also sees the Spring Festival with new pets and housing rewards. During this time, we'll be making progress on the legendary worlds of Shadowfax and Treebeard. January 5th, for example, that's next. Treebeard will be making its first jump, entering the fabled mines of Moria. Shadowfax will continue progressing, this time to the dangerous lands of Isengard. Now, that's happening both, is that right? Both on January 5th?
Both on the same day.
Okay.
Shadowfax will be moving forward, and Treebeard will be moving forward.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then March 2nd, Shadowfax will be entering the plains of Rohan. We'll have more news when Honor is making its way to Minas Morgul in the next letter. This week, we hit the Grey Mountains with the level cap of 120. Unfortunately, are having a bit of an issue in the Vales of Anduin, but other than that, that's going to be fixed in our next patch. We have an issue where some people are getting improperly ported out of the Vales of Anduin. So right now the focus is really more on the other sections, like where dragons dwell and what have you, I think, while we get that fixed. But that did come out this week as well.
Yep.
And what else should we mention? And then, like you said, there are some other things we're going to be working on. We did already talk about game performance and lag. We don't really have much to say about specifics on class balance, I understand, unless you know what the team might be working on specifically there.
We're working on some stuff in preparation for the Hidden Horde raid. But nothing super dramatic for most of the classes. We know Brawler's the one that's furthest away right now, and we expect that with the Hidden Horde, that update 32 will introduce some changes that will increase the viability of Brawler in raids. I don't think that we're done with class balance by any stretch, and we know that once the raid is out and players have an opportunity to spend time with it, that there will be additional work that we're going to be doing at that point. Some of it we already know and we've planned for. Some of it we're going to learn from the player experience.
Right. So we have a raid coming out. What's up with that? I don't know that we actually talked a lot about the raid in the letter here.
We talked about it a little bit up on Kara. There's that nice screenshot of Himmel screaming.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
There's some exciting stuff in there. I can't speak to it too much. Our plan is to do bull roars for that in January. We don't have a specific time frame for that yet. I'm working with the team to figure out when that'll be, but that's something that we definitely want to do. I mean, our goal is that all of this stuff will be in bull roar in January. It's just going to be a question of, what sequence they come in and what are the things that are going to be doing first. I suspect that the reward track will probably be next now that Airborne Housing's out, but then I don't know between the Hidden Horde and the Angle which of those will be more available next.
The art team takes really good dragon shots, by the way. We always have really good dragon shots, especially we have got some of the coolest shots of Frimmel. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely lots of good ones that we used for the Gundabad sales page as well.
All right. Maybe get caught up on questions here for a second here. Or, anything you wanted to mention or kind of talk about here that we didn't cover in the letter or anything else?
I think that's good for now. Let's look at these questions. So there's a question here from Preepy about how much LIXP is required to fully complete the track, roughly. What's the order of magnitude? So the answer is I don't know the answer to that question. Our expectation is that for most players it will be a not trivial amount of time to do. There are 100 tiers to get through. That's a good amount of LIXP. Um, we are working to make it so that players who don't have cap level characters also have opportunities. And so for players who want to play their non-cap level characters, their alts that they're leveling through, that they will contribute to the reward track in a roughly equivalent way to their cap level characters. But I can't speak to the specifics about that because those are specific details that I don't know, unfortunately.
Okay.
A question here from Kai Fear about customization additions that weren't mentioned in the producer's letter. That's still something that we're working on, but that is not expected to be released as part of this. That is definitely something that you should look forward to in future letters. Question here from Harvain. If folks will breeze through the reward track for those with tons of IXP runes, will SSG... This is stated hopefully even in game with the reward track itself, so folks know that they might easily finish it 80 plus days before its cycle renews. Um, I don't know that we'll necessarily put anything specifically within the reward track that says, hey, like, we expected you to beat this one faster. We know that that's tricky to say because players are in very different places. There are players who have been playing for years and have been hoarding runes and have deconned all of their old LIs and done all the appraisals and have beaten all of Gundabad and finished every single quest. And so they're just sitting on mountains of runes. And those players are definitely they definitely exist, but they're not necessarily the majority of players. There's lots of other players who are still leveling their way through the game, and they only have a handful of runes. And we don't want to give false expectations to the wider player base. We don't have a great way of saying, okay, if this person has this many runes, show this message. This many runes, show that message. So
Yeah,
the goal is that
it's going to be
we
not
want you to
unlike what you've
finish it.
seen in some other games, to be honest. And it's a long
Yeah,
track, and not everyone's going to hit that track. But if you're a regular player of the game, you'll probably get close, and you're going to have to
you'll have
push
plenty of
yourself. You're going to
opportunities
have
to
to
get it
push
all the way.
yourself to get to the end. That's the reality. It's not something we're going to award. Not everyone's going to get all the way to the end of the season necessarily every season, right?
Yeah.
So
That's going to be determined up to you as well, whether or not you feel the rewards are worthwhile for you, right? And not for some people the rewards will be worthwhile, and for some people they won't be, and that's okay. You don't have to finish the reward track for the sake of it. You can finish it because it's valuable to you. But the nice thing is, whether or not you're focused on it, you're still going to be making progress because just by playing the game, you'll have plenty of opportunities to gain LIXP and progress the track.
all right, what else we got here?
Yeah, I'm looking through. There's some questions here that I can't really
Are we
answer,
going to buff
unfortunately.
wardens, specifically warden tanking? Have you heard anything about that regarding class balance, perhaps?
I know Vastin is looking at that. I don't know if there's specific things that he's targeted for 32 at the moment, but it is something that he's been looking more into, as recently as this week. I know he was talking to players in Palantir about it. So we're gathering more feedback on it. We're looking at what people are posting on the forums. We're looking at our own internal stuff, and we're going to make a decision about what we're going to be doing there. Like I said, I don't expect any significant changes to happen before 32 for wardens, but I would not be shocked if we end up doing more stuff for them after 32.
All right.
Question here from Twitch Ben: could there be a mounted combat revamp to go with the bridal updates? No, I can promise you that we will not be doing a mounted combat revamp with the bridal updates. Mounted combat revamp is going to be a very big task. It's going to be a lot of work, and we don't have a really good sense right now of what we would even want to do with mounted combat long term. So the goal for us is basically to make Rohan more playable now that the players who can't have access to bridles, so we will give them the opportunity to access bridles in some way, or basically make sure that the benefits that bridles provided are accessible to those players. I think it's a better way of putting it. But we will not be doing a mounted combat revamp as part of that. I can promise you that.
I always get a little careful about some of the wish lists. I would just repeat here that we do have people here asking for the ability to name their carryalls. That one is on the reg. here that we get on Twitch. So do that. That's your fault that it hasn't happened yet. No, I'm kidding. It's perfectly fine.
It is perfect.
Yeah,
It's exactly
yeah,
me. Like I hate
yeah.
naming things. Is the
Yes.
problem. So I want to make sure that no one can name anything.
No, it's an end of the
Not
year
even your
show, so I'm
character.
trying to be fairly casual today. But yeah, that's a long term request, and I would imagine when we get the ability to add that tech to the Carryalls, that would certainly be something we would like to do. Because it would be nice to be able to have a couple of them and then name them different for whatever it is that you're using it for. So
Yeah, that's not something that we're targeting for the recent future, but it is something we're aware of. We know that'd be a valuable quality of life improvement for players.
mhm.
Another question here about the reward track from Druid's Fire. Do we have to be careful not to claim ancient script rewards during this because of the cap, or will the game let us exceed the cap? So if you are at the cap with ancient script, that cap will still be relevant for gaining new sources, which includes the reward track. Um, One thing to be mindful of, the functionality that we're trying to build with the reward track is just because you reach a tier doesn't mean that you automatically claim that reward. So you have the option to claim that reward at a later time on a different character, however you prefer. So for something like Ancient Script, you're going to want to spend some of that Ancient Script somewhere if you're at the cap and get it down. And you'll have several months of the season with the reward track before that ancient script reward that you gained will go away. So you have that amount of time to figure out, okay, I'm going to buy this tracery for maybe one of my alts, or spend some time tweaking my allies, or maybe building a new one. And you can and that will all get refreshed potentially from the ally reward track ancient script that you earn. Another question here on about the angle from McKinba. I did love Wildwood as well, but why not make it higher than 45 to 50? So for us, about part of our philosophy with level ranges for zones is relevant to where they are in the world, right? I think Lotro has a pretty consistent arc, where you start in the west and you work your way, generally speaking, south and east. There's some exceptions, obviously. Gundabad's more north. And so we look at, what are the adjacent zones nearby when we're trying to slot one of these new ones in there. And so we were looking and saying, okay, where would it make sense for the angle, where to be sent to from? All right, and it didn't make a lot of sense for it to be a place you go to after Moria. It made a lot more sense that after the Troll Shaws you would come down to the angle, and so we said, okay, we want this to be a progression zone from the Troll Shaws. So Troll Shaws were 40 to 45 if I'm remembering correctly, and so we want to sequence you to the angle after that, so 45 to 50. We will definitely look at places to place other stuff that are higher than 50 in the future. As far as I know, I think this is the second time we're even doing it. So there's plenty of places in the game where we have these opportunities for various level ranges, but it's going to depend on what are the stories we're excited to tell, what do we think makes sense to do next, and what are the opportunities nearby.
But unlike Wildwood, which was not entirely, but significantly focused on missions, the Wildwood was specifically part of the following rollout to missions, right?
Yep.
The Angle of Methithal is not mission focused.
Right, and it's not to say that we're not getting rid of missions by any stretch. We still have plenty of plans for them in the future, but it didn't make sense for us to include missions with the angle, so we decided to try it without it to see how it goes.
Yep.
And we'll take in that feedback from players about how they feel, and we'll see how players react once they actually get a chance to play the angle.
Yeah.
Question here from Gunfought. Any plans on adjusting levels in the game, i.e. scaling down the levels? So we don't have any specific plans of this as of this moment. Stat squishes and level squishes is something we've talked about internally. When a game reaches a level 140 and player health pools can reach the low millions, there's definitely things that we need to be mindful of there. I don't have any specifics to tell you about it besides that, though. When we have more to announce on that, we will definitely let players know.
Yeah. Someone's asking for some deed panel work as well. With the new kind of deeds out there, maybe it's getting a little crowded or something like that. What do,
Gundabad has
yeah,
definitely stretched out the panel a little bit too much with the extra
yeah,
tab.
yeah. I would say, UI work is something that is on our agenda. It's a pretty big process to not just do that, but other things. But perhaps we can hit that one up sooner rather than later. Hopefully, we can. So
Yeah, I would like to. It's just a question about, we made a temporary fix that made it workable, but it's not necessarily the best, UI, right? That UI hasn't changed dramatically since it was released with the game. So we definitely want to spend that time, but as Gord's saying, remaking a UI is a pretty big ask, especially one like Deeds, which is so tied into so many other parts of the game. Um, there's a lot of spaghetti to work through there, and um, I don't know when specifically we would be able to do that, but I'm hopeful that it will be sooner rather than later. I see a question here from Had Derb asking if that this will be a multi-boss raid, and I can confirm that this will be a multi-boss raid, but I can't confirm the number yet. I think that's saved for a future tease.
yep.
Another question from Harveen here. Seems to be a slightly better / longer development time for some elements coming in early 22. Is this the new trend or just getting past a very jammed end of 2021? The answer is sort of both. The end of 2021 was very busy. We did have a lot of stuff that we tried to do all sort of at the same time. We are trying to be more thoughtful about that moving forward. I mean, that's part of my job is to do that and help the team with it. So the hope is that the timeframes that we're looking at now are going to be more like the ones that we're doing in the future. That said, because of the scale of Gundabad, because of the scale of the Brawler and the Legendary Item revamp and all this other work that we've been doing to cap off 2021, this this update is also going to still be, suffering from some of the transition from Gundabad work to non-Gundabad work, and that'll be something that we're going to be continuing to deal with probably for a couple months.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, we did have a very ambitious fall, and we've rolled out a lot of pretty significant changes. And so, I think that as we head into the start of the new year and then plan to do it again to some extent, right? But
Yeah,
do it perhaps with, having learned through the process of this one as well. It is constantly learning, right?
yeah. It is constantly learning. It's
Yeah,
constantly trying to better understand what's happening with the game and what players are experiencing.
yeah.
And some of it's like we know with like the Legendary Item revamp that was a long time coming. We're really excited that we're able to get that out the door. We know that there's more work to be done there, and that means that because there is continued support work there, that has impacts on other things that we might want to do because we have to continue doing that additional work that previously we didn't have to worry about as much.
All right. In the background here, just for a little bit of variety and to keep the show and news going a little bit, I did just want to remind people that perhaps while you're looking for another question to answer here, like, let me take pause for a brief message from Cordovan.
Go
That
for
is,
it.
you want a princess bunny. You want a princess bunny. And here's how you're going to get that princess bunny. You're going to get it from the Yuletide Festival. That's running until 3 a.m. Eastern on January 4th, so through January 3rd. And you get that one specifically from the instances, from one of the instances, as I understand it. But anyway, I mean, I'm going to put this princess bunny on the screen, and you can look at, do a hashtag Lotro Twitter search on Twitter to get all sorts of people squealing and going, "Oh my god, the Princess Bunny is like the cutest pet we've ever released in the history of the game." And if you believe that may be true too, then
It is very cute.
it is very cute. So you may want this. And this is the Yuletide Festival running through January 3rd here. So, things are going to get a little quieter here after, I think, today, as we sort of head into the holidays and beyond and sort of regroup into the new year. At SSG, we do have a little bit of time off for the holidays, and then I personally have got a little bit of time off as well. And so this is really the final show of the year. We're taking the next 2 weeks off. And so it's going to be January before we get back together again. And the biggest things that are going to be happening in game between now and then is the Yuletide Festival. It's some of the bonuses that we've got to announce here. We've got some special Yuletide sales and things like that I can maybe talk a little bit about towards the end of the show if we feel it's appropriate. And then we're going to get back together in January, and we've got plans for, I understand, like a point patch and then update 32 or something along that line is sort of
Yeah,
our
we're gonna
short
have a
term plan.
couple
Hmm.
a couple patches that we're going to put out. We want to fix the issue with Honor and the Veils Van Dwyn, because we know that that's an issue for a number of players this week, and we don't want to leave them in the lurch.
Yep.
But yeah, there'll be a couple of those fixing anything that needs to be fixed in the short run, but the big patch is coming in February.
Yeah. Yep. All right. You got a question you want to answer?
Yeah, I've got a couple here. So there's a question here from Titan Metal asking about potential introduction of regional pricing. So we have nothing to announce around regional pricing right now. Unfortunately, that's not something Cord or I really have a lot of influence with. That's a conversation that happens outside of us. So if there were anything, we would let you know, but we can't speak to any future stuff. And your second question around server performance, we mentioned earlier that we have continued to roll out new server performance improvements. We have more. I think we're done at this point for what we're going to be doing this year, just because with Christmas coming up so soon, we don't want to risk anything by introducing more changes. But we will have more stuff come the new year.
Yes. We will be doing our weekly restarts, as I understand it, as well through the holidays.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. We'll continue doing weekly restarts.
Hmm.
Then I see a question here from Talrion 1003 asking about the reward track. Will it start on a fixed date, or will it depend when you as the player started? So it's going to be on a fixed date. We're going to start with the date that the patch released, and then basically 3 months after that, there will be a timer on the reward track that tells you when it's going to expire.
Hmm.
Question here from Buddy Lotro asking about Ukrainian players. I always love hearing about Ukrainian players. As a Ukrainian, myself, born in Kharkiv, for those who are curious. Uh, so this is similar to the conversation around CIS regional pricing. The markets where we can and cannot do purchasing is not up to us fully. There are restrictions that we have to honor in terms of where Xsola allows things, where the U.S. government allows things, etc. So currently, we don't have the ability to change that, but it is something that we are looking into for Ukraine specifically. But we have no specifics around when that would change.
Yes, we do
Question here from
understand that it's frustrating for folks.
Yeah. Uh, from Hoppa Joel here, we have race. We have a race change option. Will we see a class change? I don't think we could ever do a class change, honestly. Races are so much more simple the way that the game works, right? They change your racial traits, they change some of your titles, they change some of your appearance. There's a couple other things that I'm glossing over. Whereas classes fundamentally dramatically change your gameplay, your skills. There's a lot of really significant things that are tied into your class. So I don't know if a class change option will ever really be feasible.
Yeah. Related to the ability to preview cosmetics in the Lotro store, there's some broken functionality right now related to that, and that's why that is not currently possible. It isn't clear if that's something we're going to be able to bring back, unfortunately, either. But we do want to make sure that it's something that we're working through right now in terms of the best path forward. But if we're not able to bring back the preview, then we'll make sure that we have some other good ways for you to take a look at this stuff, and then be incentivized, perhaps, to pick it up if you want.
From Pure Chaos 83, any chance of making the large maps smaller? Certainly not retroactively. Going forward, it's going to really depend on what makes sense for the stories that the designers want to be telling in that area. And then a totally different question here from Hanario Brioni. Will task and housing carryalls be offered for sale again in the Lotro store? Yes, they will. When that'll be, I can't tell you. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm still behind on stuff here. So, what other questions have I missed?
I haven't seen a whole lot. People, especially on the YouTube side, are being a little on the quiet side. Hit me up on YouTube here. Let's see what we got going on.
Yeah. From Mognug here, any plans to allow API to access inside Carryalls? We are planning to do additional API work in the future, but we haven't specifically talked about Carryall stuff. I understand that players want to know what items all of their alts have in potential carryalls so that they can better manage that kind of stuff. That's definitely some valid QOL that we would like to do in the future, but we don't have any specifics planned for that right now.
There's a bug in the homesteads with the task boards. Do you know if that's a 32 target, or maybe I think that might be even whatever we do before 32, right?
I think we might have that in a hotfix
Yeah.
that's planned.
Yeah.
I know that got broken. That was related to some work that slipped through that we weren't planning to put out. So that's
Yeah.
I think that'll be fixed early, but I'll have to double check on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question here from Hapa Joel: Is there a cost line? Oh gosh, it scrolled and I immediately lost it. Is there a cost line in housing writs for the Airborne Housing? So Bull Roar put out temporary prices. These are just placeholders for us to continue iterating on. We wanted to give players, as Scenario mentioned in the forum thread, prices that were a bit higher than what we were going to end up with, because it's a lot easier to go down than it is to go up. We don't want players to feel like, oh, I was so excited for this price and then it went up and now I feel terrible about it. So we have taken in the feedback on those prices. Those prices were higher than we were thinking they were going to be. It actually helped us catch a bug, which was really nice. So that bug should be fixed for the next Bull Roar that we do, but that next Bull Roar won't be until January at this point.
Skylar7 asks, is Colbert the Mad named after Stephen Colbert? Or maybe it's Colbert the Mad. I don't know. I guess... Is that a thing? Do we know? I
don't know
assume it
for
is.
sure.
I assume it is, but I have no actual proof that it is. No one's ever
When I
said
saw the
anything,
NPC,
so.
my first thought was
Yeah.
it has to be related to Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's actually
Yeah.
where the inspiration came from.
I'm going to assume yes.
There's a question of what from Kaifir here about what will eventual customization update include. You'll have to look forward to a future letter for that. There's a lot of different things that we're working on. What the specifics of those will be is going to change depending on, what we're able to learn as we make the progress on the work.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what other questions.
It looks like Mary wants us to address a music bug. Right now, a hunter with a bow sort of is clashing with the graphics of the musical instrument. That's something we'll have to track down and see what we can do there. Sorry.
Yeah,
Mary.
if you haven't put a bug report in, please do so. I haven't heard specifically about that bug before, but I definitely would like to make sure that we have that catalog so QA can try and find it.
Any thought about making the daily VIP reward items buffs last longer than a day? Why is it a day? Why is it a 1 day?
So I don't have the full understanding here because this is a question that I asked, but this is a decision that was made well before my time and the time of several people who worked on this stuff. But there were some technical limitations that prevented some things from lasting longer. There are also some things that they wanted to manage better. And at the time, they sort of went for the simplest implementation, which was basically a buff that times out from a quest. We would like to spend some time in the future improving the way that VIP buffs and benefits are given to players, but that's not something that we have any specifics to announce right now.
I know I was there when that change took place, and I know some of it had to do with we want to be careful about essentially the data footprint that gets preserved on a character between sessions. If you think about all your items, all your quest completions, just everything, right? The data size of your character actually does matter. And one of the things we've learned over the years from Lotro is that there are times where it can get too big. And often the way that'll manifest in a public-facing way is issues with load screens, for example. You're trying to load into the game, and it's, quote, taking forever. And part of the reason it's taking forever, perhaps, is because of an issue with character data bloat. And you wouldn't think so. I mean, we're ultimately talking text files and just a little bit here, but when you multiply it exponentially out over the course of the game in that, we do have engineers in that keep careful tabs on kind of where can we push it, how far can we go, and trying to be careful with how far we can go. And I remember the VIP bonus, preserving all the VIP benefits on all the VIPs between sessions like that, was one of the concerns that was raised that ultimately led to the solution of going to, like you say, a more immediate solution for now with the VIP plan. But there
Yeah.
may be some other things involved as well.
Yeah, I think that the data associated with characters is one of those things that's continued to get bigger. When we introduce new quests, players play those quests, they complete the quests, that's data we have to store. Players get new items, we have to store those items. We have to remember what's the state those items were in, etc. Data is something that continued to grow on Lotro, and the connection to characters is pretty clear. It's something that we have been working on. We have some fixes that we are testing right now that will hopefully reduce the size of those files, or at least how much on login you have to churn through in order to properly load the character. So we're hopeful that we will continue to see improvements in terms of performance, both for you when you're trying to log into your character, but also for other players who are affected by the time that some of these queries can take across the server. One of the things that we've benefited from over the past few months is that we've dramatically improved our tooling around performance. And we have a much better sense of sources of the issue within the code specifically, and how they are manifesting themselves, which is great. It makes it a lot easier for us to prioritize the biggest pieces, and so that's given us some value already that we've seen, where our servers have gotten more stable. We have data that shows that on average things have gotten better. That does mean that for some players they haven't seen those, but on average players have seen that improvement. And we're going to continue working on those through January and into February, and definitely into the future.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left here. Asus on YouTube asks, will there be other ways to get cracked traceries, but besides high-end instances?
Yeah, so that's part of where the reward track will come in. Also, if you haven't done some of the epic quests, you do get cracked and shattered traceries from those as well. But the reward track will definitely be a great source for players, regardless of where they are in the game.
Okay. I just
see a question here from Harvane asking
Yeah.
about what is the goal for the rest of the update 31 cycle to carry us through January. So the goal for 31 at this point, the remainder of the cycle, is just polish and bug fixing, wrapping stuff up, making things work better. That doesn't mean that we won't be adding stuff to Gundabad when 32 comes out, but the significant pieces of Gundabad that we're adding outside of the raid are going to be fewer and farther between.
All right. I don't know. We've just got a few minutes left here. Let me pop up the sales page, because I do want to make sure I do that. So the Lotro Beacon will be published today, but then it's going to be taking a break as well with the next couple of weeks. Might be weirdly coincidental to me not being around the next 2 weeks. Anyway, yes, but regardless, but what we are going to do is have our special sales and our weekly sales and our bonuses. All that stuff's going to be living on Lotro.com. So go to Lotro.com during the winter break here, and we've got some special deals and some big deals that we're doing. We're doing our Yuletide savings. These are special deep discounts every week in December. Like we just announced, 75% off Beorning and character slots, for example, half off housing property writs. And that's going to continue for the next couple of weeks. And we've got some special sales towards the end of the month as well that I can't spoil here, but you're going to want to keep an eye on that. So I do want to make sure, since this is the last couple of minutes of the last show of the year, I make sure that you get word out that while I'm gone, keep an eye on Lotro.com. This is where you're going to hear about the sales outside of the regular social media stuff. And there's a few things in here that I know you're going to want to know about. So even if you're looking at this week and going, cool, trust me, there's a few weeks yet. And there's a couple of big plans that they're going to be springing some good discounts on. So keep an eye on that.
We're
on
excited for the end of
Lixp.com.
the year and what the opportunities for you folks there as well.
Yes. Anyway, there's cool stuff that you don't want to miss. So, what do you have? You want any kind of final thoughts here as we look to wrap up 2021?
So, yeah, it's been I think it's been a really exciting year. Looking back, we've spent a lot of time doing evaluations of how the year went, talking about it, looking at data. I can honestly say that in terms of a lot of our metrics, this is one of the best years that Lotro's had in a very long time. In some ways, some of the things that we've done this year are the best that it's been since Standing Stone Games has existed, and that's really exciting for us. So, we're really proud and really happy with what we accomplished this year. We know that there's still work to be done, and we've got a lot of work planned for next year. Some stuff that's new, like the angle, and some stuff that's going to address some of the concerns that players have had based on what happened this year, like the reward track, and plenty more things to come that I can't talk about quite yet. But look forward to those future producer letters, and keep an eye on Cord's stream. He's definitely going to have plenty of more things to talk about in the coming months.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm going to wrap up the show here with one little sneak peek. I'm going to push this live. You're going to go away here just for a second.
That's okay.
No one asked me if I could. I didn't ask anyone if I could do this, but I feel I can do this. Here is an early sneak peek at the new Lotro.com that we're going to be bringing to you in early January here.
It works so much better.
This is a work in progress. So, like all the articles on that are not fully populated yet. But you can kind of see how it's going to look and feel here as we sort of get it ready to launch. It is a much nicer looking website. It's got better banners, better functionality, and what have you. And the new Lotro.com should be available in January. We're going to flip the switch as soon as we're ready, and we're almost ready. We have a few kind of behind-the-scenes technical things to hook up, and we have some more polish to do on the community side here in terms of organizing release notes and just some of the heading images and what have you. But I wanted to kind of end the year here with a little bit of news of what you can expect the new Lotro.com to look like. And then we do have a plan in 2022 to hopefully update the forums as well. Although it isn't entirely clear what part of 2022 that may or may not happen. Could be pretty late in the year before that gets done. But we'll kind of have to see what ends up happening there. All right. Somehow I've got music playing now. Where happened to my music? Why are you doing this? Where's this coming from? There we are.
It's playing you off.
It is. Well, that's fine. We're going to let it play us off then. Thank you so much, Renania, for joining me here on Court of the Rings.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Everyone watching on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Archives are available after we go live. We're live every Friday at noon except for the next 2 weeks, and we will see you in 2022. Thank you so much for playing Lotro. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Happy